Okay, we're going to talk about bi-level. I have it pulled up here, the setup screen on the 980. Bi-level is a mode that, in short, revolves primarily around two levels of peep. So we have a peep high and a peep low. And then we also have a control variable in terms of how long it stays at that variable. So in this case, we're controlling peep high. So basically what the mode is going to do is it's going to transition between a peep of 20 and a peep of 5. It will stay at the peep of 20 for 1.2 seconds in this case, because that's what I have peep high set at. And that can be adjusted according to how long you want to keep peep high activated. And it will transition between these two pressures, in this case 12 times a minute, because that's what I have set. So if you think about why we would use this mode, you have to think about why would you use PEEP. And primarily, the two reasons for PEEP are to open the lung, to prevent atolec trauma, to recruit alveoli, and also we know that whenever we apply pressure to the lungs, we get enhanced oxygenation. So that's the kind of patient you would use this on, is somebody that's having severe oxygenation problems. The nice thing about this mode is that the patient can also spontaneously breathe at either PEEP high or PEEP low. So, before I change this over, I want to show you one more thing, and it's these little keys. And these little keys are not real noticeable, but you actually can see these keys in VC+, VC, bi-level, pressure control, and they all mean the same thing. And they refer to this button right here. So when this key is locked, that means I'm controlling time high. So I can tell it how long to stay at time high. If I hit the third lock, I can control how long it stays at time low. That means that when changes in rate, set rate occur, it will always affect the time high. It'll hold time low at a constant 3.8 seconds if that's what you want to make sure they get a time low at 3.8. Back here on the first key, when we change rate, time high will be held constant and time low will be variable. So if you see here, oh, hang on, let me accept it. Okay, so I'm controlling time high, and I set it at 1.2, which leaves 3.8 seconds. Cycle time is 5, right? 3.8 plus 1.2 gives you a cycle time of 5, and it gives you the IE ratio here as well. So I'm controlling the 1.2 time high, and if I change the frequency, if I roll that up, time high stays the same. Time low changes, okay? If I change this key to time low, now when I change rate, notice time low stays constant, time high changes. And again, it's all according to what you want to control, whether you want to stay at time high for a certain number of minutes, or I'm sorry, seconds, or whether you want to stay at the low for a certain set time. This middle key is when you want IE ratio to change, to stay constant with rate changes. So here we go. You see now the IE ratio is staying constant and I and E time are changing. Okay, so most of the time we just control time high. So that's what we're going to do. All right. So as you can see here, I have going from a PEEP high to a PEEP low, transitioning 12 times a minute. So let's talk for a minute about the PEEP. If we need PEEP, you might be thinking, well, why don't we just set the PEEP higher? Well, if you think about using high PEEP, PEEP's a great thing, but when you have a lot of PEEP in the lung that you don't release, it can have some significant cardiovascular effect. That is loss of cardiac index, cardiac output, or blood pressure. So the fact that this PEEP high releases to a little bit lower PEEP for a set time allows for a little CO2 removal. It allows for circulation to go ahead and flow a little bit better during the PEEP low so that they don't have as much cardiovascular effect. And by the way, whether or not PEEP affects cardiovascular system largely depends on the lung compliance. If you think about it, a very stiff lung, you apply PEEP, that lung is not going to expand a whole lot. Therefore, it's not going to compress the capillary bed and create as much pulmonary vascular resistance and therefore cardiovascular compromise. In a very compliant lung, you apply PEEP, the lung expands a lot comparatively, and so it's going to have more effect on the cardiovascular system and create more pulmonary vascular resistance and have more cardiovascular effect. So whether or not PEEP has an effect on the cardiovascular system is largely determined by how compliant the lung is. Again, a stiff lung, not as much effect. A very compliant lung, more cardiovascular effect. Okay, so let's talk about pressure support. Right now I don't have pressure support set, and this kind of gets really in depth, and I'm actually going to make another video short that has some better graphics to go through pressure support. So I'm only going to kind of intro it here, and if you want more detail on pressure support in bilevel, then you can watch my other video. Pressure support at PEEP high and PEEP low has a manufacturer default of 1.5 centimeters. So if the patient, and remember, the patient can breathe spontaneously at PEEP high or PEEP low, and every spontaneous breath is aided by 1.5 centimeters of pressure support. If you want additional pressure support, the thing to remember is any extra set pressure support is always from PEEP low. So if I set a pressure support of, let's say, 8, that pressure support is always going to come from PEEP low. Okay? If it's at PEEP high, I'm going to do one, see if I can catch it during PEEP high here. Hold on. You get one in the middle of the screen. Okay, notice there wasn't an extra 8 piled on top of that. Pressure support is only from PEEP low. Okay, so if you want more than the 1.5 at PEEP high, if you want to pressure support the PEEP high, it's going to start from down here. So you have to actually set enough pressure support to exceed this pressure level. So in that case, it's going to be very much pressure support from PEEP low and only a little from PEEP high. Real quick, differentiating bilevel from Aprv. Aprv is its own mode, but you can mimic Aprv. It basically works the same as bilevel, but it is understood to only release to PEEP low for a second or 2 seconds max. So it's more of a constant PEEP high, a drop down and right back up again. PEEP high, drop down, right back up again. And that's really what Aprv is. Okay, so if you want more on the pressure support, check out my more in-depth video. It'll be really short, just with some better pictures.